Hey everybody, welcome to the fourth and final part of the changes of price of military surplus rifles from 2012 to 2022. Whew, if it's your first time jumping in here, I've got some caveats lined up in a little bit, but if you are watching this, binge watching all the way through, taking all the time to see the different prices, you can just skip ahead of those. I'll go like this, they'll do the caveats, and then we'll get into the rifles. You should be able to see those or else I'll figure out the timestamp thing. So this is part 4. It took me a long time. I have a few more guns than I thought, but I think a lot of these are well worth it. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this series. Let me know what you think. If you want me to keep going, I can do helmets, bayonets, gear, all that stuff, because a lot of prices have changed in the past 10 years. So here we go with the caveats. With that being said, these are all firearms that are in my collection. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a trust funder. I don't have an unlimited amount of money. And I don't have every gun known to mankind, so I'm just using the guns that I own as a reference for what I saw back in 2012 and prior to that, but we're gonna go with 2012 prices. So yeah, I don't own every gun, so if you're gonna be coming in with, what about this one, what about that one? If you don't see it, I don't have it, and that's just the way it is. I've also been collecting for 20 years, so I didn't just get these all, again, from a trust fund in, a matter of 6 months. Or whatever. It's been a long time and I've traded a lot, so there's a little caveat there. So yeah, and then another little thing is I'm going to explain this a little bit in these videos as well, just to kind of remind you. We're going by the condition of the piece that you're going to be seeing in front of you, not necessarily, because it's so subjective with military surplus. It was less subjective back in the day before it became a complete collector's market, as far as condition, manufacturing, different marks and all that stuff. So just kind of take that into consideration too. I'm going to be going by the example in front of you in the camera, like the condition and all that stuff, and just give you an average price. Now the prices are prices that I personally witnessed, not just from one source. If you get your pricing from 1 or 2 sources, that's not good. You need to use an empirical method to get the best deal. Otherwise you're going to go broke real quick. So I used, GunBroker is not really an accurate assessment. People do pay a lot for stuff on there. I use other auction sites like private auction houses that utilize platforms like Proxybid, HiBid, and all that stuff, and kind of use the empirical method to see what things are going for nowadays. Local gun stores, online sales from person to person, or collector to collector rather, and just what people have been saying they've been seeing things for at gun shows and whatnot. So taking all that information and compiling it together, that's what I've come up with. It's also US prices. I don't care about Canada or Europe or whatever things cost over there. Our market's a lot different. It's not comparable. So anyway, I think those are all the caveats I have. Maybe I'll add something later on that I missed, but that should be it. So without further ado, strap in and let me know what you think in the comments after you see these price differences. And let me know if you still think that it's inflation, which I said in the pistol video. Inflation means that the Big Mac meal, the #1 at McDonald's in 2012 was around $5. Now it should be around $8 to $10, not 25 to 30. So, yeah, we'll just go with that. Let me know what you guys think and enjoy. And we'll start this one off with a nice familiar face, the US rifle caliber 30 M1, better known as the M1 Garand or Garand or however the hell you want to pronounce it. You guys know what it is. It's very familiar, it's iconic, and the prices nowadays reflect that fact. Now this, like many other surplus rifles, has a bunch of different niche collector markets for manufacturers, different dates, features, years of manufacture, all that stuff, companies and stuff like that. But this is just a standard like rack or field grade M1. It's a 1950s dated Springfield, nothing special about it. And I put the lock bar on there for a film, so it's not original on there. But anyway, so yeah, this is just a nice shooter grade. That's what I got it for back in the day. I just wanted an example, and it has not let me down. I've taken several deer with this rifle, and it's been good to me. So anyway, this is the kind of surplus that I like, where you don't feel bad about taking it out and actually hunting with it and stuff like that. And just a little caveat before I get into the pricing on this. I don't go by the CMP's pricing. I think that place is a sham. I don't think you should have to jump through that many hoops to get taxpayer-funded weapons at astronomical prices sold back to you. That's just my opinion on it. I've never liked that place as a source for prices and whatever. I think it's become something that it didn't intend to ever become. It started out with good intentions and became something else, just like the NRA. Anyway, different rant, different videos. I've already made some on their channel members. You can see that. A little hint, hint. Anyway, we'll get to the prices because that's why you're here. So, back in 2012, something like this. It's a nice Springfield, nothing special about it. Any kind of manufacturer, really, is going to be going for about $550. That's no joke. That's about what these things were going for. They were everywhere. People were buying them. I think I paid $600 for this one, or $650, and that was at a local gun shop. But yeah, online and everything, using the empirical method of like auctions and stuff, private sales, it's about $550 for something like this. Nowadays, even for something like this, you're looking at $1,300. And that's on the low end of the estimate, because I've seen some going for $900 to $1,000 in rattier shape, and some going for $1,500. So I'm just going to kind of meet in the middle and go $1,300 for something like this. A lot of these examples have been going for $2,000, but my number is going to be $1,300, just to give you guys a little bit of hope for a shooter grade / rack grade M1 rifle. All right, we'll move on. Back to some Carcanos, just like in the earlier videos, earlier parts. This is a 9138 infantry short rifle. So this was a concept that came out in 1938 and was made for a couple years, and they just ended up going with the one that I'll show you next. These are made in both 6.5 by 52 millimeter and 7.35 by 51 millimeter. Most of those that were in 7.35 were sold or donated to Finland to help fight the Soviets in the winter continuation wars. So most of those are going to be SA marked. This one is not. This is a 6.5 millimeter, 6.5 by 52 millimeter. And yes, this particular model was the type that JFK was apparently shot with. Again, don't want to get into conspiracies. It is what it is if you believe that. This is the rifle that Lee Harvey Oswald used with a scope and a scope mount. And yeah, so these things are actually not as common as some of the other Carcano variants. Therefore, they are a little bit more pricey for what they are, especially in 6.5. So in 2012, I saw these floating around, and most people get these to make a Lee Harvey Oswald clone, and I'm guilty of that too. This baby is going to be made into a clone in the next year because it's been refinished and everything, and I just want one as an example. So that's another reason for the demand and the lack of supply. So back in 2012, these were going for about $250, and that was pretty expensive for a Carcano back then. Now, nowadays, if you can find one of these, they're going for $400 to $450 for a 6.5 one. The 7.35s are a little bit cheaper because the ammo's harder to get and whatever, but they're still great little rifles. So yeah, the 6.5 millimeter Carcano model 9138 short rifle is going for about $450 nowadays in 2022. All right, so now we've got the Kirkano model 9141. So this has got a few different features in the M91 rifle, which I'll make another video on. I think we already actually did that with Devin K a couple years ago, but I can do a refresher course anyway. So this is a rifle that came out in 1941 and was used by the Italian forces through the Second World War and shortly thereafter until they started upgrading to more NATO-style firearms. Anyway, so these things are actually quite common, and for the longest time they were very affordable and cheap and plentiful. I remember back in 2012, I actually bought one of these, and I paid $175 for it. So that was insane to me. It was $175 for a rifle. They were going, some of them were going for cheaper, some of them were going for more. But yeah, these things were very plentiful, and again, people thought they were Italian pieces of crap. You know, our favorite, former governor of Minnesota agrees with that because he doesn't know how to work a bolt-action rifle. Again, Mike, stay on track. You're here for the prices. $175 in 2012. And nowadays, you're looking at $450 for one of these. So, yeah, it is what it is. They're nice rifles. I actually want to get out and shoot this thing. This one's been refinished, but it's been done well. I don't care. I got a good deal on it a couple years ago to get one back in the collection. That's all that matters. So, that's it. $450 for one of these guys nowadays. All right, what is this little guy, you might ask? Well, this is a Spanish model 1916 Mauser carbine. It was originally chambered in 7x57 millimeter, and in the 50s, it was rechambered to 7.62 by 51 CETME. So it's a little bit less powerful than the 7.62 NATO. That's why they don't recommend shooting 308 Winchester in these. But I've never had a problem with it, not recommending that. Again, another subject, another video. But anyway, these are really popular because they used to be super cheap and plentiful. These things came into the country in like 2015 and 16. Or no. These were Samco. Samco had these forever. And then when they went out of business, then other people liquidated their assets and then people sold them. I think I got this one from J&G Sales, and it was, I think, God, what did I pay for this? I think I paid, well, anyway, it doesn't matter what I paid because that wasn't 2012. So in 2012, these things were around, and these things were like $99. So these were $100 for these conversions. I think the 7x57 ones, the original ones that hadn't been messed with, were like $120. Not much difference, but anyway, these things are fun. They're great little shooters. They're pretty accurate, actually, for what they are. And it's kind of a unique thing that I really haven't seen being thrown around the market lately. But the ones that I have, these things are going for $300. So they've tripled in price in the past 10 years, which is
Still an affordable little 7.6251 NATO bolt-action rifle, but they're not really collectible because people don't really like Spanish firearms because they haven't been involved in too many huge conflicts since the Spanish Civil War on a big scale. I mean, we can get into nerd details and stuff like that about little conflicts here and there, but a massive conflict, which is also what drives up the price of surplus firearms because they're in video games that portray those conflicts, etc., etc. So I brought that up. So yeah, these are about $300 now, and they were $100 back in 2012. And now we're going to move on to my basket case of a Czechoslovakian VC52 rifle in 7.62 by 45 millimeter. So these are a really cool rifle, and I love this one. The stock is kind of in need of some TLC. We tried to repair it, and the repair didn't make it through the first winter where it was really dry. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a different film or a different video as well. Sorry, I get sidetracked. ADHD is fun, if you want to call it that. Anyway, back in the day, these things always intrigued me, but the ammo was virtually impossible to find, so I just kind of stayed away from it. But these were going for about $250 back in 2012. Now, if you can find one that's not got a cracked stock like this, but in reasonable shape like this one, you're looking at $800 easy. And the 7.6239 conversions are even more because ammo is a lot more plentiful. I did happen to get a bunch of surplus ammo for this a couple years ago, and I have fired it. It fires very smoothly and doesn't have a lot of recoil. I really like these things a lot. They're really quirky and they're very unique, like the side folding bayonet. They actually handle pretty damn well, and they were the predecessor to the VC58, which is one of the best quote-unquote assault rifles that a military has fielded, I think. So anyway, yeah, $250 back in the day, and now they're $800. Yes, one of the most intriguing stories of a surplus firearm and its value. This is one of my favorite, unique, weird surplus firearms. I actually had one back in the day, just like a lot of other ones. Had to sell it and then reacquired one for the collection years later. This is the Egyptian Hakeem rifle. It's chambered in 7.92 by 57 millimeter. It's a semi-automatic, direct gas impingement, operated firearm, and it is a unique, weird, awesome rifle. These things are insanely accurate, insanely loud, minimal recoil, and very reliable once you get the gas tube or the gas system adjusted to the ammunition you're using. So these things were around in the 80s and 90s, and they were cheap. You could get these for like $200 and whatever for all day, and nobody liked them because they were Egyptian. Oh, it's going to be garbage, blah, 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 blah. Well, these things are after They're patterned after the Swedish Ljungman AG42, and it's a weird action. I'll make more videos on this. I just have to. This is one of my favorite surplus guns because it's so weird. And there's only a couple of guns that were designed like this. So I'll have to go out and make some shooting videos too and show you how accurate and loud these things are. Anyway, these things back in 2012 were about $400. So not that much more than they were in the 90s. They doubled in price, but they were still really affordable for a full-size battle rifle. And nowadays, oh my God, 2022, I've been seeing these things going for $1,300. So again, these things have tripled in price, a little bit more than tripled in price, and they're getting hard to find. So I'm glad I got one back in the collection. I paid more than I did for my first one, but hey, that's how it goes in this business, and this is one of the ones that completes my list of things that I wanted to reacquire. I only have one left on that I want to reacquire, and that's the Masson M47 bolt-action rifle. But other than that, I've got everything back that I had to sell when times got tough back in the mid-2010s. This is one of them. So I'll use this bad boy. You can stare at this gun porn for a little bit longer to close out this final chapter of this series. I did not realize it was going to take this long. I tried to keep my ranting to a minimum, but if you watch my channels, you know that's very difficult. Even with a script, I tend to ramble a lot. It's just the way I am in real life. So you guys, it is what it is. You get what you pay for. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this series. It was kind of fun to make. I didn't realize how many firearms I actually had and the amount of money that's sitting here. But I'm not planning on selling these things because they're so fun to use. I actually use my firearms. I actually one of those collectors that buys them to fire and kind of get the actual experience out of it. So that's why I have so many, and I have one of each kind, because it's fun to taste different flavors, kind of figure out what you like, what you don't like, and it's fun to make content and share that with you guys. That's why I have so many. I've also been collecting for over 20 years, so it's not like I just got inherited a bunch of money, or I have a trust fund and I just bought these all in one go. This has been a long time, buying things, trading up because I was dirt poor and I couldn't afford to buy anything, but I could trade guns. etc., etc. So I'll make an entire video explaining kind of my experience with military surplus firearm collecting eventually. It might take a little bit, but anyway, so I will stop rambling about that stuff. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. I really do appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And also share this video out. That really does help with the algorithms and stuff like that. And people like to see this stuff if they're like-minded. So that would be really cool as well. So anyway, if you also want to support me financially via Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, you can do that. Link to Patreon is in the description. $5 a month or more on either method of support gets you into my Discord server, which actually has quite a few people on there already, and it's very fun. We have a lot of good talks on there, a lot of cool information, and I post exclusive things on there. It's just kind of more of me personally, and yeah, I'm on there pretty much every day, so it's an incentive. And if you can't do it financially, if you can't support me financially, you're just supporting me enough by watching, and I do really appreciate that. Also, one more thing, if you do like military surplus gear, as well as the firearms and everything, like I do, I happen to have an online shop where I sell military surplus and have been for several years now, in case you didn't know that. Mike'sMilitaria.com. Link to that is in the description. And I got a bunch of cool stuff on there. I like unique stuff. I love everything that I sell, so it's one of those deals. It's a passion of mine, and I absolutely am so fortunate to be able to do that for a living. So, there we go. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed this, and maybe we'll do it again in 5 or 10 years.